When you talk finance and investment in the country, this man's name comes up among the top list. So I'd like to invite Mr. Atedo Peterside, and he's going to introduce a new angle to what it means to own your own private jet.
So now, private aviation, and this is to Mr. Peterside, is one of the most visible and most debated luxury expenditures. Beyond the obvious convenience, how do you make the financial and productivity case for private aviation to a client who is weighing it against other capital deployments?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. When Bingpe asked me a question, I was going to warn you in advance that I'm one of those people that no matter what you ask me, I will say what I want to say. That may not necessarily be linked to what you're asking me. But, talking seriously, because this is a wealth conference, and I know you've invited me many times before, and I've never shown up. So this time I'm here. I thought I should do it myself because we're talking about wealth. We have our CEO here, Captain Mercy. She's up there, yeah. She has an aviation background. But if she tells you something about wealth, you will say, but what's her experience in wealth and wealth management? Now, if there's one thing you go away from this evening, let me just tell you that two things that destroy wealth, generally, globally, known for destroying wealth, is buying a yacht or buying a private jet, or buying a number of private jets or a number of yachts. They have a very high incidence of ruining families financially. We can go into that later. But therefore, why am I here? Because you might say, if I'm running down the whole idea of owning a private jet and owning a yacht, an expensive yacht, then am I trying to run down my business? No. I'm doing the exact opposite, and I'll start by quoting Warren Buffett. I don't have the exact words, but if you check today, he's probably the 11th wealthiest person on earth. He has never owned a private jet, and he's known for financial prudence and discipline. But he flies in private jets, but he has never owned one. And he will tell you, why is he buying a private jet? All he needs to do is to be able to use a private jet. If he wants to go on a trip on a yacht, he will enter a yacht for one trip and go back home and leave the yacht behind with all his problems and liabilities. So, also, I know this segment is called luxury, but I prefer to focus more on convenience. Because in truth, we're not even in the business of luxury as such. Yes, we have one or two aircraft that meet the luxury definition, but it's about convenience. This aircraft you have beside me, while I was sitting down, I just did a Google search, and I put in Google, which is the most widely flown private jet in America. I thought I was right, and the answer came up is this aircraft, Embraer Phenom 300. And yet we were the first ones to bring it to Nigeria. So it's the most flown private jet in America. Why? Because it gets you from point A to point B at the lowest possible cost, efficiently, time and time again. Phenomenally stable and all. But you see, if people think that private jet is about luxury, they start looking for all types of much more elaborate and expensive crafts. So the most widely used jet in America only arrived in Nigeria through Anap Jets. It's the most widely used because most of the entrepreneurs out there, all these people you see operating in various sectors, tech, oil and gas, they don't waste their money. They are very prudent. And one of our slogans about Anap Jets was a smart way to fly private. A smart way in the sense that we are offering you products that enable you to access a plane, either as a fractional owner, which means you're only paying for a fraction of the cost of the plane, or the easiest one even is what we call a legacy jet card, which means that really, in financial terms, for as little as $95,000, which you paid for a legacy jet card, I can show on a blackboard that it gives you almost all the benefits to access any aircraft in our fleet and to go where you want to go, when you want to go, as if you own the private jet. Indeed, some of the people who use planes to go every time to the same location, like I know a client who always flies home to Owerri. People in Owerri assume that private jet belongs to him. Because if you see him coming to Owerri every time in the same plane, Are you going to go and check whether he paid for it? So he gets all the benefits without all the other problems. But I know that this segment is moving from aviation to luxury to the real luxury items. So I don't want to dominate proceedings. So basically, my message is that we're in the business, the world is moving towards a shared economy. The same way that many of us, when we're in the UK, we don't necessarily keep, or anywhere in the world I go to, I don't keep cars everywhere. I simply call an Uber executive or something, use it for when I'm there, leave it behind and go. That is the same way that smart people use private jets. So let me pause there so that everybody can have a chance to talk. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And I like the idea of comparing my private jet to an Uber. The accessing, it's the way I access Uber. But you're right. I mean, that's very much about smart money. And they do say, it takes a wealthy person to understand what it is to preserve wealth. And so that's, I guess, the message there. But I'm going to ask you one more question before I move on to the others. And this is all about security. And, we do live in a country where security is an issue and it's something that we have to take seriously, especially, the wealthier one is. And so for your clients or potential clients to whom, security is paramount, again, how are you tailoring your services to meet this need?
Yeah, okay. Again, I can talk endlessly on the benefits of flying private. One of them is security. See, whether you like it or not, the reality is that if you board a plane in Lagos and the plane is heading to Port Harcourt, once you've entered that plane, Air Peace or Ibom Air, the 100 passengers there know that you are going to Port Harcourt. Any number of them before the plane takes off can phone anybody in Port Harcourt at the other end that you're on this flight. They can plan for you and so on. With private jets, number one is confidentiality. Nobody globally advertises which client is entering his plane and where they are going. That is the golden rule. And even more importantly, even when they see you boarding a plane in Lagos at Legend Hotel, you enter the private jet, you close the door. They don't know where you're flying to. All they can report is that I saw this guy entering a plane. Where he's flying to, I don't know. Okay, there are more advanced ways of finding out, but generally I'm saying the industry also offers a number of protections, including improved security, confidentiality. If nobody knows where you're going, when you're arriving there, you're a lot safer than when 120 people. Indeed, sometimes the whole airport see you get up in the terminal and they announce those Owerri is boarding, and you get up and you go. They know you're going to Owerri. So basically, you've announced your travel arrangements and movements to 200 people or 400 people. So security is something that is also one of the benefits.
I know I mentioned earlier, so, if I'm looking at the numbers between affording to buy a private jet one day and being able to actually hitch a ride, which I guess is more accessible, I'd like to have a comparison, with the financial sort of outlay.
Are you talking about between ownership versus using? I can give an example that our legacy jet card holders start off. It's like a pay-as-you-go. They put $95,000. And then each time they fly, you debit them for the cost of the flight, which could be 10,000, 12,000, whatever they go, and they top up. Now, and I said they have all the benefits visually, including when you come out of that plane or this other plane, who knows who owns the plane? They get all the benefits. If you wanted to buy a plane, comparable plane, it will always set you back over $10 million. And then I can even go further to say that you may spend that $10 million up front and get a worse deal overall. Let me explain. The person dealing with us, I used Uber as an example. He gives us notice he wants to fly tomorrow. He gets to fly tomorrow. We give him any one of our aircraft in our fleet, including sometimes if he books that one is not available, but a bigger one is available. Because we are the ones who couldn't give him what he wanted, we give him an involuntary upgrade and he flies. Conversely, if you buy a plane, there's an old saying in aviation that if you have only one aircraft, you don't have an aircraft. Because planes have so much downtime. I mean, I give an example. One of our aircraft, this Phenom, is going for a 24-month maintenance. Expected to last 3 weeks. So for 3 weeks, the plane is down. That's number one. Then number two, when I said I can go endlessly about the benefits, we have a client this week. He has a legacy jet card. He flew to Abuja. Tomorrow, his wife is taking another plane to go to Benin. Now, if you have only one plane, how are you going to do that? So because he has access to a fleet, he gets a lot more flexibility. And the one that will surprise you, and please quote me, what if I tell you that in Nigeria, the people using our services and using a shared aircraft like Warren Buffett are a lot wealthier than those many who struggle to buy a plane to say I have a plane. So in the same way as Warren Buffett check his net worth, it's available on Google or anywhere. It's about $140 billion. But he refuses to buy a plane. He will sooner pay NetJet $25,000 to take him somewhere. Yet you will have some other people who see that aircraft as a status symbol, like I've arrived and now own a private jet. Well, like I said, if you want to go somewhere, then you have to manage the plane. But guess what? The good news is that if you insist on buying the plane, my advice to you is that don't try and manage it yourself. Put it in a management company like ours and allow us to manage it for you. Then also you get one extra benefit, that because your plane is in our fleet, if your own aircraft is undergoing maintenance, we will allow you to use one of the other aircraft in the fleet because you are our clients, and it's a simple trade-off. And you wouldn't even have to pay cash as such, because some other day, you will allow somebody else to use your own plane in the same way to sort of cancel out. So that's why I said that this whole concept of sharing, it has really endless, benefits. So you can use 2 planes on the same day. Also, this aircraft has 6 seats. So people who are going like me, who travel alone many times, why do I want to carry a 17-seater plane that is the only plane I have, that costs a lot more to fly? On the day I'm traveling alone, I use a 6-seater plane. On the day I'm using the whole family and from friends, I use the one of 13 seats. On the day I'm going for a funeral, you can carry the casket and carry 50 guests to go for the same funeral. So you're basically that's why I keep on going back to Uber. Sometimes you can choose the people transporter with 7, because you're choosing, it's like horses for causes. Yep. You're choosing the plane for the particular journey you're doing. And please, before we keep on thinking about luxury, I'm not sure if people here are aware that we are flying to Ekiti even more often now. Do you want to drive from Lagos to Ekiti?
No, I don't think so.
And come back the same day?
I don't think so.
So increasingly, what you're finding is that wealthy people are flying more and driving less. I will confess, the last time I went for a funeral in Ondo, I went by air. I flew to Akure, drove from Akure to Ondo, and then came back the same way. But people going to Ekiti now, they are flying straight to Ekiti and flying back.
It's probably safer.
And it also comes back to security.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want to be on the road for 5 hours, exposing yourself to all the risks? When I talk about safety, I think in aviation, in fact, we say the 3 most important things are safety, safety, and safety. Our accident record is second to none. And I'll tell you something else as well, because you may not know. In Nigeria, we're the only aviation company that's allowed to fly commercially into the European Union. Not because there's any huge sum of money involved. You just have to subject yourself to rigorous audit by the European Air Safety Authority. And I tell you, if you can pass that European Air Safety Authority audit, you will pass any audit anywhere in the world. It's a lot more rigorous than even the USA, where FAA sometimes gets a bit politicized and all that. So safety is also very important in the sense that at the end of the day, you don't want convenience, talk about security in terms of people not knowing your movements, but you're not dealing with a safe operator. So we're talking about a professionally run aviation company. And I can check with the insurance companies. They'll tell you that it's not just private jet now. They'll tell you that the accident rate for a private jet managed by one man and his wife versus one managed by a professional aviation company that has passed major audits is 6 times, one is 6 times the other. So there are 6 times as many crashes of private jets run by one man and his dog or one man and his wife and all that stuff. Look, even to manage a car is difficult enough. Talk about managing an aircraft by yourself. If you check on Google, some aircraft have 2 million different parts. So it's a professional business. It's not something that, so some people actually spend money on their own private jets and actually endanger their own lives in the process. Combination of unprofessional staff, people who cheat, and I don't want to go into details or names, but you've got to make sure that all the money you're spending on maintenance and so on is properly controlled, and everything is done properly. So safety is probably the final reason for also thinking about using companies like Anap Jets as opposed to trying to do it yourself. I may I just add by saying that I would want to appeal to Toloway to go into men's clothing.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.